was the movie that catapulted an action hero into superstardom as he battled the ultimate alien warrior. It was a treacherous jungle shoot that risked the lives of cast and crew. And it was a frantic race against the clock to create a monster fierce enough to fight Hollywood's toughest star. A creature feature in crisis, a movie out of money,
Payback time,
and a brutal tale of survival, both on and off the screen. On Backstory, Predator.
Whatever it is out there, it killed Hopper, and now it wants us.
Released in 1987, the action blockbuster Predator was an explosive mix of two movie genres that cleverly preyed on an audience's primal fears.
Those eyes disappeared.
What was that?
Those eyes there, they disappeared.
It was a very interesting combination of a science fiction movie, an alien movie, and a war picture.
Predator starred Arnold Schwarzenegger in the story of an invisible alien who comes to Earth and hunts to the death a band of U.S. soldiers. The result? A grisly showdown of brawn against beast.
Bad idea.
It's got as much suspense as it does action, adventure, and horror because the twist is so wonderful. They're being hunted rather than being the hunters.
Kill me, I'm here, kill me!
Predator first took form in the mid-1980s when it began as a literal dream project for two unknown screenwriters, brothers Jim and John Thomas. It was Jim who dreamed one night about a see-through monster moving through an empty room. That haunting image became the basis of their first screenplay, originally titled Hunter. But with no real connections in Hollywood, the Thomases' only hope was an executive at 20th Century Fox who agreed to read their screenplay and was fired just days later.
So the story goes, the executive who was leaving was going to throw the script in the trash, and something made her just toss the script onto the desk.
The script was handed over to John Davis, another Fox executive who was seeking a screenplay that could launch him on a new career as a film producer. With its clever mix of military action and monster movie thrills, Hunter fit the bill, and Davis had the perfect star in mind, Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Knock, knock.
I was working on Commando, Arnold Schwarzenegger movie, and in those days it was pretty easy to sell Arnold a movie if it was cool, you know? Come on, we're gonna have a great time, you know? We'll get you a lot of stogies to smoke.
Good old days.
By 1986, 38-year-old Arnold Schwarzenegger had used his muscle, his mind, and ambition to become Hollywood's most promising action star. The champion bodybuilder was now a hotly sought commodity in Hollywood, and a script by two unknown writers, created for an ensemble cast, hardly seemed destined to be his next movie. But to John Davis's delight, Schwarzenegger loved the script.
I always wanted to do a film like the Dirty Dozen or like the Magnificent Seven or something like that, where you have a team of guys going out and taking care of a job.
Some damn fool accused you of being the best. Dylan!
Among those joining Arnold was co-star Carl Weathers.
What happened to you, Dylan? You used to be somebody I could trust. I woke up. Why don't you?
Another member of the cast was a World Wrestling champ and Vietnam veteran named Jesse Ventura.
This stuff will make you a damn sexual tyrannosaurus, just like me.
Jesse Ventura was the real thing, too.
Absolutely right. He did at least one tour in Vietnam as a Navy SEAL.
He was a big star in the wrestling world, and, you know, he had just started to become an announcer, and Arnold and he became very close friends.
Nothing on this earth could have lived.
Playing the mentally unhinged Sergeant Mac Elliott was Bill Duke, who'd already co-starred with Schwarzenegger on the film Commando. To direct the modestly budgeted film, co-producer Joel Silver took a chance by choosing a little-known up-and-comer named John McTiernan.
I began to sense that when I got hired on this, my first studio job, that There was a desire that I photograph guns going off. Felt a little squeamish. It was, I don't know, there was a sort of pornographic edge in it. So I said to myself, all right, you want to see guns going off? I'll show you guns going off. I created this scene in Predator where they blaze away. It was like 5 minutes of shoot guns, shoot guns, shoot guns. And what was weird was nobody really caught on, and I was sort of making fun. I was deliberately pushing it way over the top. The whole point was, hey, I mean, I had a character say at the end of if they emptied all the magazines of bullets, and the character says, we hit nothing. That was the point, we hit nothing.
But despite a tough director and a top-rate cast, nothing could prepare Schwarzenegger and his band of movie brothers for a shoot loaded with out-of-this-world obstacles.
The wounds all fused, cauterized. What the hell could have done this to a man?
And a production crisis that threatened to blast Predator into oblivion. When Backstory returns, cast and crew fight for survival as real-life predators run wild on the set. And a frustrated studio shuts down production.
Stick around.
Holy Mother of God.
Ain't no way for no soldier to die.
On April 12, 1986, shooting on Predator began in the murky jungles 20 miles west of Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. Casting a pall over the start of production was a fatal plane crash, which killed the film's art director and assistant location scout. The tragedy seemed an eerie omen for trouble to come.
The conditions under which that movie was shot were extraordinary. You hike into the jungle to where you're shooting, and the crew is carrying on its back. I'm talking about dollies down ravines. You're a captive of the environment.
It's something. Makes Cambodia look like Kansas.
Cast and crew also fell prey to potentially deadly predators that weren't in the script.
There were fire ants, some of which crawled down the back of Richard Chavez's shirt one day. And he was hopping around doing St. Vitus dance, screaming, ripping his clothes off.
Where are you?
These ants were about an inch long, and a lot of venom, and he was really in a lot of pain. We wound up tearing all of his clothes off and dumping buckets of ice on him, and he had huge welts all over him.
He's busted up pretty bad, Major.
I can make it. I can make it. Crawl snakes. They're these small snakes that if they bite you, you die.
You're bleeding, man. I ain't got time to bleed.
They were all over the place, just crawling around, and you'd be crawling on your stomach and a crawl snake go in front of your face.
If it bleeds, we can kill it.
But unlike the actors in the trenches, filmmakers higher up in command had an easier time adjusting to the jungle.
Well, it was really kind of a cool location because, you know, 20 minutes from location, you know, you were in this like fabulous resort.
We never saw the hotel. Everybody got sick.
So you cooked up a story and dropped the 6 of us in a meat grinder.
So you'd wake up in the morning and there'd be like, you know, hot rolls and a huge pool.
Every day, there used to be bugs in your food. Bugs, you know, and we said, this is ridiculous, we're not eating. By the second week, we were just taking those bugs out and just glad to eat anything.
It comes with the job.
Arnold's room had a swimming pool in it. I remember my room had a smaller swimming pool in it.
I was in bed with like 5 blankets, an overcoat, shivering.
My men are not expendable.
The hotel would be assaulted by snakes and scorpions every night.
Thanks.
Anytime.
We're all gonna die.
working in a jungle, and we were confronted with all kinds of insects and snakes and scorpions. And also we did a lot of scenes in the water, you know, dangerous waterfalls and falling off waterfalls.
But although Arnold faced every danger without fear, one event in his personal life threatened to push the on-screen Superman into a panic.
Arnold was so nervous about getting married that he really knew how to play those scenes where he was supposed to be scared.
On April 25th, 1986, production on Predator screeched to a halt.
Get to the chopper! Run!
As its star jetted out of the jungle and into the wedding of the year. As the world watched, Arnold Schwarzenegger married news reporter and Kennedy family member Maria Shriver in Hyannisport, Massachusetts.
He arrives on his Learjet, you know, haggard and tired from shooting in the jungle, you know what I mean? And he's, boom, bright and ready to get married the next day. And they took a 4-day honeymoon, and he came back to do the picture. That's how committed Arnold was. The wedding wasn't going to stop the movie.
We make a stand now, or there will be nobody left to go to the chopper.
But when Schwarzenegger returned from his fairy tale wedding and headed back into the jungle, he discovered a production on the verge of collapse. With little money left in the budget, John McTiernan and his team had come to the crushing realization that a key ingredient of their film was a failure. Arnold's title co-star, the Predator himself, simply wasn't scary.
It needed to be a better monster. It just didn't look scary.
Inside the original Predator costume was a little-known martial artist and would-be film actor. His name was Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Jean-Claude Van Damme was the original creature, and he remember coming in and complaining after wearing the suit that it was too hot.
Jean-Claude Van Damme had passed out several times because of just the humidity and this. And the producer said, you know, you can't pass out anymore, you can't do this.
And another one of the producers basically said, get him out of here. I want a new Predator. We got to get a new Predator.
Both Van Damme and the original creature design were left on the cutting room floor. And that June, 20th Century Fox demanded that the troubled production be shut down and return at once to Los Angeles. With time and money running out, Arnold Schwarzenegger and his battalion of on-screen soldiers knew that they had little time to find their way out of a movie-making quagmire. In June of 1986, the exhausted cast and crew of Predator returned to 20th Century Fox with an unfinished film, no money, and a monster in need of a costly makeover.
You can't win this, Dylan. Maybe I can get even.
Luckily, the beleaguered team finally got a break when they begged Fox production chief Leonard Goldberg for an additional $2.5 million to finish the film.
Leonard Goldberg saw the 2/3 of the movie that had been finished and basically said, okay, you guys have permission to go actually finish the movie and shoot a third act.
Showtime, kid.
But the producers still needed a new and frightening Predator, tough enough to terrify even Arnold Schwarzenegger. With time running out before the film's June release, the producers turned to Stan Winston, an Oscar winner for the sci-fi smash Aliens, and designer of Arnold's best-known character, the Terminator.
Joel came to me with the challenge of, well, can you help us? Can you help us create a Predator? They were going to shut down production for 3 months. We would have 3 months to do it in, and go back and shoot the rest of the movie that involved the Predator. Bottom line is what we have to do is we have to out Arnold. I thought it needed to be strengthened as a character, and the key word was character, because it's not about special effects, not about monsters, about hopefully creating memorable characters for film.
For the next 3 months, Winston carefully crafted a monster that would satisfy all the story's demands. Among those weighing in on the final design was his friend and frequent collaborator, director James Cameron.
I was on an airplane with Jim, and I was drawing the Predator while I was on this plane. And Jim looked at me and he says, you know, I've always wanted to see a character with mandibles. I said, oh, well, that's an interesting idea. Cool. And that was the seed of who the Predator was. He was more powerful. He didn't need a weapon. He had to be a bigger human. We could find someone easily taller. Arnold's about 6'1". Kevin Peter Hall, I believe, was 7'6". And this guy is going to be able to, as he does in this movie, just grab him by his neck and pick him up off his feet, hold him up against the tree because he was twice the size.
The reshoots featuring actor Kevin Peter Hall as the Predator were a rousing success. And equally dramatic were the special effects that created the chilling image of a see-through monster.
It was screened at the Pentagon for a group of people in the Department of Defense, and they had one general who stood up and bellowed at the screen, "I want one of those." And since then, the Department of Defense has been working on an electro-optical suit, basically, that can be put on soldiers and vehicles that does exactly that, and we understand they've actually getting pretty close to perfecting something like that.
On June 12, 1987, the filmmakers finally found out if their efforts had been worth the battle.
In a part of the world where there are no rules, an elite rescue squad is being led by the ultimate warrior. But now, they're up against the ultimate enemy. This time, it's picked the wrong man to hunt.
Predator opened nationwide, and the result hit the target at the box office. Despite mixed reviews, audiences loved the action-packed adventure, cheering both Arnold and his alien opponent. As Predator's box office take soared past 100 million, Arnold Schwarzenegger took his place as the Hollywood powerhouse he had dreamed of being.
It just shows you anything is possible. Wow, what a dream.
The reaction was huge. I mean, The Predator was an instant success. It turned out to be a wonderful movie.
It is a film that appeals to young and old. It has something for everybody. It's very entertaining.
But viewers hadn't seen the last of Arnold's otherworldly enemy. In 1990, a sequel, Predator 2, bowed on movie screens, and the character also lived on in a best-selling comic book and interactive video game.
Alien. Predator. Danger. Warning. Destroyed.
You decide who will survive. Aliens versus Predator.
The Predator has become an iconic character in film history, and it all came together because of all of the pieces, even at the 12th hour, coming together.
To create something that you've never seen before, that's also effective in terms of scaring the hell out of you, that's powerful, and they pulled off. It's brilliant.
What it represents somehow is this dark side of things.
Mac, who did this?
You know, the unknown, things that you fear.
What the hell are you?
And when you can, you know, face it and deal with it and defeat it, that's what storytelling, myth, and movies sometimes are all about.